Yes, good morning and welcome to the discussion segment of Good Morning Anambra. On the eve of the November 8th, 2025 gubernatorial election in Anambra State. Yes, it's unfolding. Small, it's unfolding.
Yeah, gradually.
All eyes are on the Anambra.
Yeah, the anxiety, a whole lot of anxiety about that. INEC communicating really very positive, results going into not just the result, but talking about PVC collection. So about 98%, some reports say 99%, and a whole lot of talks about that increased CVR, and a whole lot of positive reports about that security and all that. So, but probably these are some of the things we'll be looking at, this moment.
We're no longer talking about candidates and parties. We are talking about peace. We're talking about unity and how to get into the elections and come out unscathed. That's why we're here today. So we say welcome. And that's actually why we had to go and bring in people who have had experiences in mediation, in peace, and then elections. So it's actually going to be a situation where we're going to listen to them, tell us their experiences. That's experience sharing. That's what we're doing here today. So join us in welcoming to the studio this morning someone we know that is from the department or the Directorate of Institute for Peace and Development Studies, Anambra University, and is also a member of the Peace and Mediation Working Committee of Kimpact Development Initiative, KDI, and we're talking about no other person than Professor Jaja Nwanebu. Prof, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You look regular, as if you're ready for this election.
We are set. We are ready on it.
The truth is that he actually does have lots of portfolios. We were just discussing that.
No, we can't see all of them.
We can't see all of them.
So we also have another person who's also concerned about peace, for the common person. And when you talk about peace for the common person, that means the person must also have an interest in elections. Because when we do credible elections, transparent elections, elections with accountability, that means that we'll have good governance. And we're talking about a human rights defender and public affairs analyst, SPC Nwafo Ezofoma.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Anambra, and all our viewers.
Okay. Now, when we talk about peace, because for the past few days, when you open up your radio set, your television sets, Anambra people, what they will be talking about is peace. This election must be done peacefully. We must. So why is peace important in this election that we're having tomorrow, Professor Jaja?
Well, peace is literally a state of tranquil, and that translates to the fact that it is the only state that keeps us at a stage of that takes us out of anxiety. Anything that gets you out of anxiety is keeping you in a state of peace. Anxiety of life, anxiety of health, anxiety of safety, anxiety of the means of livelihood. It's a composite nature of one's state of order that makes him go to bed and sleep. It's only a man that is in peace with himself, in peace with his society, in peace with the entire state, that can go to bed and close his eyes and sleep. And that's why peace is very important. Now, Anambrans are saying, for this election that is coming up on the 8th of November, all of us are going to take part in the election, both the gladiators and we, the voters. But at the end of the day, the major message is that the election will come and go. And the outcome of the election, one, the process of the election will be peaceful, should be peaceful, and indeed must be peaceful. And the outcome of election will also breed peace in Anambra State. And that is why we're talking about the peace in all ways, because the process, the outcome, and the post-election life of Anambrans is important that these things are all skewed in the positions of peace. And if we don't get them operating within the context of peace, it means that take away the peace. There may be violence in the process of voting. Take it away, there may be violence after the voting. Take it away, There may also be violent and state of disorder for the next 4 years. So the entire process circles around peace. Peace in process, peace in voting, peace in outcome, and peace in the consequence of the outcome. That is why it's very important.
Thank you, Doc. I just felt somebody who's a motivational speaker was talking to me when you were talking. But then, remember we were talking Anambra election,
Yes.
next history. SPC, you know that ordinarily for us, as human beings and with this kind of economy that we have, many people don't have peace. Do you think people will embrace peace during this election?
Thank you very
Knowing
much.
how we are, our body mechanisms, psychologically, mentally, and otherwise, how we are now.
Thank you very much. I think, first of all, let me commend the Anambra and every stakeholder for the peace we have enjoyed up even till now. Somebody called me and was asking, I think either yesterday or 2 days ago, was asking me, is it this Saturday that the election is coming? Or next Saturday? I said, it's this Saturday. He said he was thinking, somebody that has been coming to our office today. I was surprised. Somebody who brings the legal documents and so on. So it's an enlightened somebody. And yet, because of the serene atmosphere, the tranquility that has been, that is there. So so far, so good. They have, even I've had it so many places, even in the social media. That just like Anambra issue, there has never been clashes of, in other places you can see that two political parties must have clashed and people killed this and that, but you don't have such. And I want to commend in the Anambra and the political gladiators as my...
So you feel in the Anambra...
So with that in mind, I think half done, where begun is half done. So we have started well, and we are eventually going to end well. What you said, actually people have anxiety. The situation does not guarantee this peaceful coexistence. But for the fact that they have been enduring it, and for the fact that those in the leadership are showing example of peace, because they say when the righteous is in authority, the people rejoice. So if those who are leading have not shown the path of peace, people would have emulated that. So I commend the government, the stakeholders, the INEC, like the other day. And this is, mind you, this is the first test of the new INEC chairman. And then so
probably let's not go further into that. You know, I love the expose you've given to, the intro you've given. But let's come to you, Prof. PC has, given, probably a touchlight on the build-up and all that. But can you give us your giving the build-up to these Anambra governorship elections? What are your thoughts on the political climate?
Okay, the atmosphere now is depicting some level of tranquility. Remember, midway into the campaign, it was almost turning toxic. And quite a lot of interventions were made from different critical and conventional stakeholding agencies. But I remember the INEC, the police, even the establishment of the Peace and Mediation Working Committee by KDI. And quite a lot of other agencies, and for the past 1 month, Anambra State has been the beehive of civil society activities.
Have you ever seen this type before?
I have never really seen this level and number and margin, because if you go through every nook and cranny, you see different levels and organizations, all existing, preparing people, stakeholders, political leaders, party agents, and so on and so forth, including our next staff and security operatives, on how best to prepare the society towards the election. And I think after that initial period of disharmony, there has been order. That is one. Secondly, I think the electoral process, the campaign process,
and the political climate.
And the political climate this time around is not really heated up, because I don't know how to put it, but it appears that the campaigns have been so quiet, just like what my colleague said. If somebody that is that much aware could in a week time be wondering if election is coming up this week or next week, it doesn't tell a good story about the electoral preparation. So what it means is that there are tendencies that a lot of persons on the field are completely dissatisfied with the entire system. That is an information issue.
So probably people are, will I say, astonished by the fact that everywhere is calm compared to what it used to be, whereby by now you see a certain level of rowdiness, you see a certain level of will I say vituperous campaigns and all that. Probably this time it's different.
Anambra, I must have to say, have never really been an environment of violent election processes. Yes, what has happened in our society in the past few years with the state of insecurity heightened up tension in the last election. And it heightened up tension, people were expecting that to be carried into the election itself. And during the election, the environment was very peaceful, even though the preparation was humongous. And I don't know, yesterday I was talking with the OGTV, and they were talking about the security situation. I said, well, let me just leave that for now. So Anambra, people really have not been expecting violent campaigns because we are not used to violent campaigns. After the 1983 election, where there was some level of violence between MPN and MPP, shake up other elections from 1999 down here, we haven't really been having clashes of political gladiators. So Anambrians are not used to violent campaign. What we started becoming afraid of is violence during the election occasioned by non-state armed actors who in the last election were making different levels of threats. Okay. I think with the control of the security situation, both from the federal and the state level this time around, the threats came to a barest minimum, and therefore the issue of whether we are going to vote or not going to vote is not coming to the front burner as it did in the last election.
Okay, now to you, SVC Esquire, during the last election, senatorial and assembly election, we had reports of political thuggery. We had, especially vote buying, during which we had people being given 10,000 naira, 30,000 naira. Some even said 50. Even the 50,000 naira has not been authenticated, but we had reports like that. I don't know. This kind of situation, do you see it rearing its ugly head? And then, if you do or if you don't, tell us the effect it will have on the electorate and then the final result.
Yes, anybody used to say na ihe dibia na ife benoke ka dibia na agwo. But so nobody will completely dismiss that there wouldn't be such practices, because people are hungry, and many people are not well exposed, enlightened. They affect the consequences of such practices. We had in the last election, at least we had one woman who was offered a huge amount of money. He said, take it away. This is the party I'm voting. This is the one. So at least it went viral. So what I'm saying is, as you said, it surfaced in the last election, and it was unfortunate. It was highlighted. Even some people have started planning whether to shift grants, to go to places that they offer this and that, and go there and vote. But I think with the enlightenment, with the corrections, the exposure, the education by different stakeholders, social media, civil liberties organization, I think many people must have come to their to their senses, and it will not be, not that it will not exist.
Prof, are you protesting? You feel that people are not...
I am not protesting, really, but I think the statistics we have is presenting the contrary.
Wow.
Because...
Can you share with us?
Yeah, the last by-election,
yes,
senatorial election, presented an extraordinary use of money.
A big surprise.
And if such money was used about 2 months ago, even the parties that didn't use such money were complaining, oh, we failed because we didn't use as much money as the party that used the money and won the election. And therefore, on the contrary, I'm expecting that those that tested the ground with the use of money, you can see that money has not been coming out. That money presumably is kept for the day. Because it was done...
What do you mean by the money is being kept for the day?
In the by-election, in the day of the election, money flew with legs. People were paid money to vote. So I think this issue of during campaigns, you see money moving around and whatever. You see political parties being given monies and throwing out goods. I think they've all learned a new act of keeping that money in bags. On the morning of the election, so I would rather be surprised if by Saturday, as tomorrow, I will be surprised rather if tomorrow you will not see a contest in the spending of money in the polling units. Because it happened 2 months ago. And somebody regretted not doing that. Another person celebrated doing that. So what proof have we that the person that used money to buy before will not want to do again, or the one that didn't use money before and failed will not want to spend money to pass? So until we see tomorrow what happened in the recent past, is a testimony of the fact that it's going to be a money election.
Okay. Now, most times you have politicians bringing out thoughts on election day and all these, and basically they are youths. We've recently seen the signing of a peace accord and all these. Yet, at the end of the day, in past experiences, I think that thing has been done for 4 years here, 4 elections here in Anambra State. It's becoming a culture with Speaker Foundation and all these. But some people now say that sometimes, after the signing of the peace accord, they also, because as far as I'm concerned, vote buying is anti-peace. It could escalate. It could escalate and then, bring out a fracas that we cannot control. So now that they have signed this, do you think it's enough to, wait people away from engaging in vote buying and then other anti good governance activities during the elections tomorrow?
Well, as a matter of fact, what they signed is good. Is a routine that has been taking place not only the Anambra election, but many other elections, and including national elections for quite some time now. But those things are not canons. And because they are not canons, quite a lot of compliance has always been somewhat difficult because there is no punishment for non-compliance. However, Anambra, for the past 2-3 elections, have also not been known to be an environment of talks and machine movements in elections. The electoral system since 2015 have also made it difficult for talks to be very, very effective in election, because at the end of the day, it is the process within the polling units that moved up to the collation points. If it was in the past when talks come and carry ballot box and go and use it. Today, if any talk...
Where are those talks now?
They are there. They are, many of them are there now. Of course, you see them along the road, stopping vehicles and cashing them for whatever was. But if you carry a ballot box now, you're not going to do anything with it. Yeah. Because the electoral system has designed a process that made a connect between both the accreditation, the voting, the collation, and the announcement. That any box you carry out, the only thing you're going to get from that is that you may destroy the votes count there. I mean, the votes, ballots cast there. But for that to form as an advantage on your own party is difficult. What happened during the presidential election in some areas that were clips were showed is an unfortunate situation where some of these things were done openly and results mutilated, and yet the system accepted them. But beyond that, it is not a very normal thing now for talks to come around and create distortion. And then secondly, on the aspect of the peace accord signed, dissuading the use of money, I think that is a far cry. I don't see that coming. If the new Electoral Act, which is on the table, with the content that is in that Electoral Act, comes into place, then there are tendencies that a lot of persons will be dissuaded, because there are now provisions for how to deal with the money used in the polling units as is not in the extant law.
We'll talk a bit about the Electoral Act and its contribution to peace when we return, but briefly, before we go for Vox Pop, SPC Esquire, can you touch, because I don't know, he seems to not to believe that Peace Act will actually dissuade people from being
from vote buying.
From vote buying, yes. Do you think so too?
Well, as I said before, we are all saying the same thing. Because even when I said before, I said in Igbo they say ihe dibia na-agwọ bụ ihe benoke, ọbụra na-eru. Nobody is saying that there wouldn't be such things.
But
even the electoral. But somebody, if instead of coming openly to encourage that, or so the political gladiators or a governor also coming into the polling unit and the order, that will not happen. But you must have some skirmishes and some little things under the ground.
Okay. Well, we are still on ABS television, and we have been talking about Anambra State Guber election 2025, let peace reign. And we have these gentlemen here who have been giving us what we want, because what we need to go out tomorrow is peace. If you can just pick that little leaf, green leaf, or naka, yes, signifying peace. Whatever you can do to foment peace, tomorrow is the D-Day, and we would like to see you there as a peaceful person. But before we conclude on this show, we need to take a break to listen to what people have to say on the street about what we're talking about. We'll be right back.
Wow, it will be a wonderful one. If it is peaceful, there will be joy, there will be happiness, people will go back to their normal business, work, everything will come back to normal, people will be happy.
So now your name is?
Antonia Odigwe.
How do we make voting accessible for people with disabilities?
Yes, I think INEC has a provision for that. I think there is a policy coming up to assist the PWs to have access to voting. This time around, definitely their vote is going to count. Yeah, they will vote this time around. I think there is a policy on that going on, yeah.
If it is peaceful and it's free and fair, it will pave way for a true leader to come in, and it will also give the people who stand for our party to also come out to vote, and it will also give us that security that we are always wanting, something like that.
First and foremost, we will have peace, we have security, we have joy. Yeah? Because there's nothing worse than war or violence. There will be peace of mind. Everybody must be free, going out, coming in. But when there is no peace, there will be fighting, grudges. So we will have peace of mind. First and foremost, joy and peace.
We stand to gain a lot, there will be no casualty, there will be no form of fight, and the election will be free and fair. And the masses knows that once it is a free and fair election, their votes will be counted. And they are the person of their choice, they will be expecting to see that the person embrace the winning. Do you understand? And if it is a free and fair election, a lot of people are scared of coming out. But once the vote is free and fair election, people will come out in full to come and cast their vote to their right person of choice. So I think Anambra State should embrace with free and fair election for the masses to come and vote for their people of choice. Thank you.
We embrace peace as well. Peace will be the benefit. If it's violent, It will be a violent process and a violent outcome. But if peace is embraced, then and enforced, then it will be to the benefits and credits of Anambra people. Anambra elections have always been known to be peaceful. So it won't be a surprise if this one goes in that mode.
Yes, it's still Anambra 2025 Global Election. Let peace reign on ABS TV. And here we have Professor Odeda Wanebo, and of course we also have SPC Ezoform. That one for must be added. SPC one for Ezoform.
Thank you.
Yes, and here we want to conclude, but before we go, we've been talking about things that happen offline. Let's go online. Because I think when Anambra initially, earlier on in the campaign period, it was the social media that actually told us that some candidates were exchanging words, and all these. And even though campaigns stopped yesterday, but I woke up this morning and I saw people even campaigning online. So online is always vibrant, and it could be used to foment trouble, foment, a peace, an environment that is not peaceful. So how can we counter disinformation, and maybe hate speech and fake news from the social media in order to have a peaceful election tomorrow? Yes, okay. Let's start with SPC.
Okay. Social media is a very good thing in the society. In short, it has advanced our society from the time we started using it. But all the same, anything can be abused. Some people abuse the opportunity of social media, and they can use it to truncate the peaceful atmosphere or cause confusion. Because when you feed a false information, the hearers will find it difficult to discern which one is correct. Even some may tend to believe that false information instead of believing the true one. So we ought to apply checks and balances. We ought to know how to use our social media. As we have talks in every system, you can be a social media talk by feeding wrong information and or helping to share it, to spread it, thereby creating, it's unfortunate, some of the things, the elections we had, even the last one in Anambra State, I was surprised. Some people posted, even in Onisha, some people posted, and people were celebrating somebody that did not win. At the long run, you see that the real winner will emerge. So I think we have to excite. Anambra is an enlightened state as far as Nigeria is concerned. So we have to show it by our attitude, our comportment, and our actions. So let us use social media the way it should be used. Okay, well, let us only report the truth.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Prof, do you think that misinformation or disinformation or malinformation or fake news or hate speech could change the narrative in bringing out a credible leader at the end of the day?
Yeah, no, well, those ones you mentioned now on the negative part.
Yes,
and therefore, it is the control of them that will give the society a space for emergence of good leaders. Misinformation can easily be corrected because misinformation sometimes comes from absence of the right knowledge. Disinformation is the conscious, designed effort to give the wrong information. And that is a more difficult one to track because as you are tracking, they are regenerating. The person is on his heels, generating and spreading. So how do we control them? I think INEC has a lot of work to do in this circumstance because I don't know how ready they are, but obviously it's part of those things that has to be done and carried by the media platform of INEC. And how are they going to do this? They are going to make sure that from the time the election starts in the morning to the time the results are announced in the evening, that no gap is allowed to exist.
All right, so since you're talking about the INEC, let us look at, coupled with the answer you're giving, let's just look at the role INEC should play, not just INEC, the security agencies and traditional rulers, and also traditional institutions, the role they should play in promoting peace during this election. And also, do you think this institution, because before you actually play a role that people should hack into, you must be trusted. Do you think these institutions have earned public trust? Talking about INEC, talking about security agencies, talking about also traditional agencies.
All right, we are talking about two sets of agencies now.
Yeah.
One of them are the conventional agencies of the state, and that is INEC and security.
Exactly.
The second one are the state, the cultural institutions that work within the state. I'm going to disaggregate them. I was talking about the information angle, which in this circumstance, the best of the bodies to be trusted with information is INEC. And one thing you need to know is that we're all taught in the secondary school. Once you are asking questions and you leave a space, somebody will fill in the blank spaces. That's why I said from 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow till the election result is announced, INEC should be up in the hills to ensure there is no gap, presenting a second-to-second, minute-by-minute update of all that is happening. CSOs that are also manning the different
Polling units.
What's the name again? There are different rooms.
Okay.
Will also situation rooms will also be very credible source from where information would also have to be rolling out to the media. If we have these two bodies working together and working consistently and working tirelessly without leaving space for blank spaces for people to fill, this information will be hitting on a very solid foundation. I mean, a very solid barrier, and they won't penetrate. But once they leave gap, they fill the space. So that is the way to deal with that. That's one. Then come to the aspect of the credibility of these institutions. The INEC, whether we like it or not, they are the electoral management body. They are set for the election. For this election, they are that yesterday they were already moving the materials, sensitive materials, which means before the end of today, every RO would have been set for an election of tomorrow. And if we put that in perspective, we can say, yes, starting mobilization is going well. Secondly, in terms of what they are going to do on the field, I keep telling people, there's absolutely nothing INEC both direct staff or ad hoc staff can do in an environment where the voters and electors themselves are conscious. In a conscious environment, the votings take place in the polling units. The voters in polling units determine who they want to vote for. At the end of the day, the result of the polling unit election is announced and copies are distributed. It is transferred from there to the ward, from ward to local government, from local government, and if therefore there is a very credible and clear follow-up, everything go fine. So whether we trust them or not, all we need to do is to work with them and to work consciously with them to allow giving them space to do anything. For security agencies, of course, lots of persons on the streets also have no option this time around than to trust them. They are already bashing themselves so much into us that whether we like it or not.
We got the news that we have about 58,000 policemen in Anambra.
45,000.
No, this morning from the news we got. Because I heard even security defense, right?
Civil defense.
Civil defense.
Yes, they said they are bringing 10,000. They are brought, not bringing 10,000 of their men.
Okay. In addition to the police 58.
No, in addition to the police 58.
And DSS.
That was in the news this morning.
And army.
Okay,
So before you know it, we have almost about 100,000 persons.
No, it may not be up to 100, but that's a lot of number. Or amid concerns about, amid concerns about them, actually being on ground, because we see these numbers all the time during elections. But when you go around the polling units, you begin to question if these numbers are actually. But let's not, dive into that. Let's look at, the topic, bringing peace. Mr. PSC, how can peace education be used? Talking about peace, how can it be used to, SPC, thank you very much, to influence young voters and reduce political violence?
It cannot be overemphasized. It is very necessary, it's very important in the society. Because, for instance, some people graduated, some people were not up to 18 in the last election. Many people are now 18, and therefore they have not experienced how you vote, how you go to the polling unit, how you thumbprint, and so on. So some level of education is needed. And that is why both the INEC and all the stakeholders the party agents must be there to play their role and not to go into what they are not supposed not to do. Not to corner somebody somewhere and say, this is what you do. But you can help to tell the person, this is or somebody who is confused. Just as you said, sometimes you come to the polling unit, because some of us also monitor it in one type of civil liberty organization or the other. You see that sometimes you come there, as you said, you will not have that education, you will not see the officers or people who are in charge educating and giving help, giving explanation to people who require it. So sometimes people can get the information they require, the education from any source. And that is a gap, as he said, that can be misused. So we must live up the expectation. Every officer, every INEC staff, every stakeholder play the rule, their role according to the rule.
Okay, we've had early warning signs, we've had EWA, civil society persons coming in to help, warn people, embolden them, make them know what to expect and what not to expect and all this. For Professor Jaja, do you think the EWA that we had was enough? And then what about, have you ever thought about, post-election violence creeping up from somewhere?
All right.
How can we combat these?
Yes, let me start with the works already done by the civil society group. I think quite a lot of investment has been made in Anambra election this time around. I'll give the instance of the Peace Mediation Working Committee. These were all activities tended towards preparing the society for a more peaceful election. Interventions, media engagements, the peace work that was done at this period. Here, I just listened to one of the adverts coming from the partnership between the KDI and ABS. All these things were tended towards creating the enabling information that will make the environment peaceful. And I think quite a lot of them have been made. A lot of information have been placed into the public domain about the implications of violence in election. And as for whether that will guarantee non-post-election violence is dependent on the electoral process itself. Usually, what most times creates this violence, usually when elections are conducted in a manner that is made it very difficult for the losers to see themselves as having lost. If the process is made transparent, is made credible, INEC uses the word substantial compliance. If there are substantial compliance, there are tendencies that you won't have post-election violence. But if there are not, the reactions to some things that are not normal are usually what creates this post-election violence. So in this circumstance, with the level of preparedness now, with the level of information within the public domain, I hope that tomorrow elections will be made free, will be substantially compliant with the rules. And if that happens, then I don't expect a post-election. But as per whether the vote buying does not generate violence. It has become the order here, unfortunately, that parties that are outbought don't go into violence. They protest, though. But the ones that are outwritten or outread are usually the ones that respond violently. This is the few things I want to say about this.
Okay, so do you want to say anything, SPC?
No, I'm totally in agreement with him. That's why we, especially as he said, that portion he said that what brings post-election violence is when people have what they saw, what they experience is not what is projected. That is, somebody may be tended to react and angrily.
Thank you. So look into the camera, talking to Onya Anambra that is watching you, and appeal to him or her why tomorrow's election must be peaceful for us to see ourselves and hug ourselves at the end of the day tomorrow.
Well, I want to talk like a very selfish Anambra man. And I want to call on the spirit of selfishness in every Anambra person. The selfishness on the point of our governor, Charles Soludo, is the governor of the state today, but is not the state. The people contesting against him are also not the state. I am Anambra, even much more than them. And therefore, we need to take into consideration the primary interest of Anambra State. That Anambra State Adigo before governors, Anambra State Adigo before this election, and Anambra State Yadi after this election. And if we have this mindset that our children, my own little kids, must not be made to face violence or any manner of disorganization in their activities, in their studies, in their way of living because of election. And that the outcome of this election is very important in determining our existence, our living, and our lives. When we take this into consideration, it becomes very important for us selfishly, I use the word again, whether it sounds patriotic or not, let us calculate and count ourselves. Nanka, Bukadu State, ndị na-azọ ọlụ a, even though nọ ndebe anyị, mana ọlụ a na-azọ bụ ọlụ anyị, anyị enye, anyị ya atụnye akwụkwọ, ka anyị tụnyere onye ya abalị anyị ụlọ, ka anyị gbaa mbọ fụ na nsogbu adịrị echi niile, ka anyị chee ife anyị tụrụ nche, na ọ bụ na Anambra dị mma, ọ dịla anyị niile, mana anyị mebie ya maka election a, ọ ya na anyị n'iyi.
Okay, SPC, can you do your own beat too?
Yes, actually, let me come down to the back to land, as we said. The Anambra election, no be war. Election, no be fight. And more importantly, I've always been proud to identify. There was a time we were celebrating, even in the ABS here, they projected my distance. I said, I am happy to be on Anambra because of the resourcefulness, the ingenuity, how God created us. And more so, we are the light of the nation. So we must show that light in every aspect of our life. Let us show the example. Let us set the pace for others to follow. And as he said, and the malona would do something that you will set the example for your children. Don't do anything you might be proud of. If you will not be proud of it. But if you conduct it very well, we'll all be happy and be proud of it and produce the leader that we'll be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You've just listened to our very own SPC 14 Ezra Former, who is a human rights defender and public affairs analyst. Thanks for coming to the program.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. In Anambra, let us all be encouraged.
We also have the Director, Institute of Peace and Development Studies in Anambra University, who is also a member of the Anambra State Peace and Mediation Working Committee of Compact Development Initiative, KDI, Professor Jaja Wanebo. Thanks for coming peacefully to this program.
Anambra, let us survive this election. We will survive. We must survive it.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I'm a woman and we always pray in Jesus' name. My name is Ifyuna Chukwu. Thanks for joining us. And remember, tomorrow is critical for our living in the next 4 years. So go and vote wisely.
My name is Obina. Do have a very positive year and a very, peaceful elections tomorrow.